do have Mr. Gambetta here.
Mr.
We do have
Chairman.
Mr. Thornton here, and we do have Mr. Cooper here.
Mr. Chairman,
Gentleman from South Carolina.
could I engage with the chair in a colloquy?
Yes.
I thought witness Pagliano was granted immunity.
That's what I've read.
Well, Congress can't prosecute anyone, so the one entity who can has granted him immunity. I'm trying to figure out what his criminal liability is.
If the gentleman would yield.
Well, I was having a colloquy with the chairman.
I understand that,
but if you can answer the question, I'll be happy to hear from you.
The FBI granted him limited immunity for the purpose of...
The FBI didn't grant him immunity. The Department of Justice granted him immunity.
That's correct. For that limited purpose.
How do you know it was limited use immunity? I haven't seen the immunity agreement.
Let me also inject here.
No, I have great respect for Mr. Lynch. I have asked what kind of a...
His attorney, Mr. Pagliano's attorney, says in his letter that he was given limited immunity for that purpose.
Well, that raises another interesting question that I hope the gentleman from Massachusetts will help me figure out, which is when you've reached an agreement with the government, oftentimes it includes cooperation with other entities within that same government. So I wonder whether the Department of Justice in their proffer or immunity agreement with Mr. Pagliano made it clear that he needed to cooperate with another branch of government. We can't prosecute anyone. Only the Department of Justice can, and they've made it, frankly, crystal clear they're not prosecuting anyone in this fact pattern. So where's the criminal liability?
The gentleman has constitutional rights under the Fifth Amendment. Whether they are violated by the FBI or violated here in Congress,
well,
still violated.
But as the gentleman from Massachusetts knows, the Fifth
Amendment, he cannot be required to be a witness against himself.
Right, but the Fifth Amendment doesn't protect you from non-incriminating answers.
Well, we've got a criminal referral here.
Not on him. He can say his name.
Sure it is.
He can say where he worked. Every answer doesn't incriminate you.
The gentleman from Massachusetts will suspend. The gentleman from South Carolina, it's his time.
I was just inquiring of the chair. I thought there was an immunity agreement in place between the Department of Justice and this witness. So if he's been immunized and you can't prosecute anyone for anything, where is the criminal liability to him coming and answering questions, which further assumes that every question you ask is going to expose him to criminal liability? There is no Fifth Amendment privilege against answering non-incriminating questions.
Will the gentleman yield?
Sure.
But he can incriminate himself because we've issued, a criminal referral here.
He's got immunity.
Because of he doesn't have immunity. He doesn't have immunity. You
haven't seen the immunity agreement.
Look at it. If you want to read it yourself, it's from the gentleman's attorney. He's got limited immunity.
No, I'm going to need a more reliable source than a criminal defense attorney. I want to read the agreement itself. I want to read the agreement between the Department of Justice and this witness, and whether or not that agreement requires this witness to cooperate with other entities of government. That is commonplace. For them to say you can tell us the truth but you can't tell Congress makes no sense. That's all I want.
Okay, the gentleman will suspend. The committee should also be aware that the committee did send a subpoena to Mr. Pagliano to produce this immunity agreement. That was due today at 10 a.m., and he did not produce that as well. So he was under subpoena to not only have his presence here, but so that everybody on this panel can see this immunity agreement, which he supposedly has in his possession. Those documents were also subpoenaed by the committee, and he did not comply with that as well. It's the intention of the chair here. We're going to move on. There's a lot to address with Mr. Pagliano. Like I said, we're not letting go of this, but we need to continue with this hearing.
And you know this, man.